You're listening to The Business Focused Photographer. If you're ready to transform your photography business into a thriving career, you're in the right place. Each week, we'll discuss fun and innovative ways to boost your creativity and income. Sound good? Let's go. All right. Today, we are here with Emily Gbadamosi. She is a photographer and systems expert located in the Bay Area of California. And we are going to talk all about the importance of systems, especially when you have a neuro-spicy brain, like I clearly do, as Emily has come to realize firsthand in dealing with me in every step of the way of getting onto this podcast. So welcome, Emily.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
I'm so glad that you're here because we haven't had anybody come on and talk about systems and strategies to help photographers, but specifically photographers who may lack executive functioning skills. And I will be particularly interested in like gleaning some information and tips from you from this conversation. So thanks again. Do you want to give the people who are listening a little of the back end of how you came into this career as a photographer and then as a systems expert?
Yeah, definitely. I actually started my career in education. I was a school counselor for 10 years and then moved into high school vice principal role, actually, for a few years. That was an incredible career, but I just found myself getting burnout. And on the side, I'd been building my photography business. So I started that in 2017 and built that business kind of on the side hustle for a long time. And then in 2023, decided to take it full time. That's been amazing. So it's been a couple of years now, full time with photography. But then in 2024, I'd kind of been toying with the idea that there was just something more that I needed to do. And education is just a huge part of who I am. So I was just finding in like the photographer community that I was in that a lot of photographers were struggling with the back end of their systems because we all get into it, you know, for the love of the craft and because we love taking pictures and, you know, whether you start as a mom with a camera or just because you want to be a wedding photographer, whatever it is, you get into it for that. But then there's all of this, like, as you know,
so much
that you have to do on the back end. And in education, I was doing a lot of building systems for myself, my colleagues, my students, that were repeatable, you know. And so I just was like, I think I can do this for other people and help them with figuring out what they need, why they need it, and how it can actually make your business more sustainable and hopefully profitable.
Yeah. Yes, because that the organization, the consistency in every part of our business is what will lead to a sustainable business that is here for years, that you can stay in. You don't have to go back to working for other people.
Right. Exactly.
I'm so intrigued, and I won't take the side quest that I'm tempted to take to hear more about going from counselor to vice principal, which are incredible careers. And you're in California where teachers do get paid appropriately. I am married to a teacher. In New York, we have really good teacher pay, but it is still feels like you're doing a whole lot of work for maybe not enough money. But anyway, so you had a great career, but it's so hard to experience working for yourself, which I'm sure you did more of during the summers, and then to go back to like answering to somebody else or following a curriculum and staying within the parameters that somebody else laid out September through June or whenever your school year is. So yeah.
And I think too, like a lot of people who do decide to like step away from careers, that's actually one of the issues because they're so used to like systems already being in place for them. And so then you step away from that and you're like, wait, what do I do? Marketing? Like I have to figure out marketing and
Yeah.
bookkeeping and all of the things, and client communication. And I don't know
Yes.
how to do that,
Yeah.
in a way that's sustainable.
What a beautiful segue. But seriously, that's exactly what it is most of us don't start off as entrepreneurs. You go from working for somebody else to then having to design your workday.
Yeah,
And which is great, which is like the best part. But if you are not if you're not intentional, it can be
right.
a whole lot of like distraction and especially because so much of um, our work happens in distractible places
Hmm.
like social media. It's you
Yes,
I'm if I'm during my workday, if I'm on social media, it's not because I am scrolling. It's because I came on there to do something. And it takes about a half a second before I am scrolling and forget why I was
absolutely.
there. So
Yep.
it having those systems in place is paramount. So talk
Yeah.
about was there a tipping point for you as a photographer where you realized that you needed some systems and then the little uh, trail that led you to figuring out what they needed to be?
Yeah, definitely. I think because I was, working a full-time job and then trying to build a business on the side, I was getting inquiries at all different times that, I'd get an inquiry while I was in a meeting or whatever, and then have to remember later on that night or that weekend to respond to it, and just was responding via
Yeah.
whatever format that inquiry was coming in. At the
Yes.
very beginning, this is almost now 10 years ago. I was using Thumbtack at the very beginning to get
I
inquiries.
remember this. I remember.
Right. So I was getting Thumbtack. I was getting things from my website that was just a contact form that led to, a Google spreadsheet or something like that. um, and would have to like put them all in one place, remember what my pricing was, because somehow that's always difficult to remember what
Why
your
is that
actual
so
pricing
hard? This is
is.
so hard. You're right. You're right.
And so I was just like, there's just too many places where things are getting potentially getting lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I found that I just needed just one central place. So I found HoneyBook. HoneyBook's the system that I use for probably like that's my main
Yeah.
go-to. It's always
Yeah.
open on my computer. And it really was the thing that like got me to feeling a lot more sane about my business. There were still lots of tweaks that came along in
Sure.
that, but
Yeah.
and still are, of course. But that definitely was the place that really helped me to put it all together, and contracts in one place, invoices, client communication, the whole thing.
I totally agree. So HoneyBook is really popular amongst photographers. I know a lot of photographers who use it, love it. I think it was created at least for creatives, if not for photographers. So
Definitely. Yeah,
they
it
are,
is highly used by photographers, and
yeah.
then a lot of other creative businesses as well. I've worked with florists and doulas and lots of other businesses as well. So
And that's kind of a perk of HoneyBook, from what I remember, is that you do kind of get integrated into a network of other creatives who you may want to collaborate with, and you right. So that's pretty cool and pretty intuitive of them. Do you feel like they're and I know the answer to this, but I just want you to say it as
yeah.
do you feel like there's a one size fits all CRM out there or
Oh, yeah. I
yeah,
mean, absolutely not.
yeah.
Yeah. And, HoneyBook is what I use.
Mhm.
There are so many other client relation management tools that are wonderful. And I know that, kind of, I think as most people, you get into something that works for you and you're like, okay, I'm not going to change it. Like, if I
Yes.
don't have to, I'm just going to stick with it. So I've definitely looked at lots of other CRMs, and a lot of them offer very similar things to HoneyBook as well. So
Yeah.
um, I think when picking, if you're going to pick a client relations management tool, you really just need to know what it needs to do for you before you pick it, because there are nuances to every system, and if it doesn't work for your brain, then it's never going to work for you.
Exactly. I tell this to my students all the time when they are struggling with this is I'm like the number one thing it could do everything. It could do every single thing for you, but if it's not an organic thing for you to be using, if you don't find yourself if you're struggling to remember to go in there, and this is where how I landed with the CRM that I use is that I have tried all of the really the big boys and the ones that
Mhm.
are super robust, but I wasn't going in there. It was so against the grain for me for whatever reason to be entering into these systems where you're saying that HoneyBook is open all the time for you.
Right, right.
And that's the case. I'm like I don't even want to say what I use because it's not really a CRM, but it's I use Pixie Set because I'm
Yeah,
already in there all the time and
totally.
they do the things that I need to do except for automated emails. That would be super duper. But I have faith that they're going to do that. But anyway, it needs to be something that you are already inclined to be doing, and recognizing those patterns in your own behavior is so important. And I love that you talk about that because I've heard a lot of systems experts out there talk about the various strengths and advantages of using a CRM, but you're the first person I've heard acknowledge that it needs to be working with your natural tendencies.
Absolutely. Yeah. I
Yes.
think that's the case for, any system or workflow that you're creating. It's got to work for you. It also has to work for your clients, right? Like when we're talking about photography, you can't just create it for yourself because that's actually one of the like pitfalls I think I see a lot of photographers come across is that they're creating a system that often is actually too complicated for their clients.
Yep. Yep.
And so you do have to like start with your client in mind as well. But in terms of like the repeatable things that you do and what kind of automations you use versus what tasks you do manually, all of that has to work for your brain.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that piece about it working for your client too is huge. So thank you for mentioning that because I'm sure you've been a photography client. I've been a photography client,
Yep.
and I've been on the other side of a myriad of CRMs. And I I think that's a really important part. I'm somebody who's familiar ish with them. Like
Right.
I see this portal, I know where I am, I understand why this person is using it. But if you are not in this industry or an industry that utilizes them and all of a sudden you are jumping through hoops to finish booking and doing this and do like what's
Yep.
going on, like
Yeah.
how you're gonna bounce like before you even book. uh
Absolutely.
yeah.
I think probably the biggest one that I see is when there isn't a clear path from inquiry to booking.
Yeah.
If you are just doing oh, I'm so glad you inquired. When do you want to book? And then they have to respond, and then you have to respond. Oh, I'm not available, or these are
Hmm.
the dates, right? That there's so much friction there,
Yeah.
and it can cause somebody to just jump ship
Yep.
because somebody else quickly got back to them with a booking link, and they're like, great, I know that this person is available on September 25th when I need my photo shoot to
It's
happen.
huge.
Hmm.
It is so huge. And this is like I talk about and I talk about the reasons why people don't book you because everybody wants to blame it on their price, right? But
Yeah,
the actual reasons that people aren't booking you have there are so many reasons, and one of them is this complicated process, a lack of responsiveness. And even
yeah,
if those responses are automated,
absolutely.
right, that's fine.
Yeah.
As long as I know there is a human on the other end and we can keep this moving because I finally found a minute in my day to reach out to you
Hmm.
and get this thing on my calendar that's been on my to-do list.
Right.
So if we can't move quickly and I don't get that instant gratification that I'm used to getting in every other part of my life now,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I might just dip out and find somebody else who is responding immediately. And that I have been the client who's booked people because of that, and I have been a victim of that for sure. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and a CRM is wonderful for ensuring that. And
Yeah, just being able to have, whether it's automations or your template set up so that you can easily just go in, copy paste, maybe change a few words, as opposed to having to write a brand new email every single time, which is what I was doing at the beginning.
right, right,
Totally.
right.
Or I would have them, weirdly saved in Gmail files and I would have to remember what I named it because, we always name it something absolutely ridiculous. Um, and I'm still totally guilty of that. But now, having a fully automated system, my family inquiries are fully automated. I basically don't touch it, with the exception of confirming location, time, and date. I am pretty hands off when it comes
That's
to
great.
that. And so now when, I send out my fall calendar, it's just click the link and they're off and running.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me about your workflow and how you figured out how to build it to work for you. And now that it's something that is kind of like you just can sit back and let it go.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely took a while. There was a lot of back and forth in terms of what I felt like was going to be right for me and my business. I'm pretty hands-on. I like to know my clients. So there was a time when I actually had a workflow where they would schedule a consult call with me. But I also found that was a point of friction, especially for
Absolutely.
family
Hmm.
photography. People are, when they know they want to book a photographer, they know they're
Yep.
ready.
Yep.
So if they've inquired with you, they're ready. You don't need to sell them on anything else.
Yeah.
Um, and as long as you're being transparent about your pricing and an initial inquiry or proposal, whichever kind of comes first, then you're good. And if they don't respond to you, then you've got follow-up systems as well.
Yes. Yes.
I think I just wrote a blog about this, that I booked just last week 3 clients, fully from follow-ups. So, and those were all automated as well. I didn't touch it, but they reached out, they didn't respond. I checked in, they didn't respond. I checked in again. And then they were like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I was busy. Like,
Yep.
can I still book with you?"
Yep.
And the link
Yep.
was already there. I didn't have
Yes.
to do anything,
That is, do you use the excuse me, do you use the magic email?
hmm
You do. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Love the
It's
magic email.
it's so I remember when I discovered it, I went
Yep.
through like the entire year's worth of ghosted inquiries back when I
hmm
just assumed people were not booking me because of my prices or something more
Right.
superficial than the truth, which is almost always that they forgot.
Yep.
And I reached back out to all those people with the magic email, and I booked so many people that
Yeah,
way.
exactly.
It is such like an underutilized tactic, and I think because it feels pushy, but
It's really not.
good gravy, man. Like think
Yeah.
about how many times you said you have ADHD. I have
hmm
ADHD. I think a lot of people listening do, just because entrepreneurship and creative entrepreneurship are just really well suited for us.
Absolutely. Yes.
But like think about how many times you have been almost the ghost, like because you forgot, you got distracted, you had something
hmm
else to do, they had a question that you couldn't answer without doing something else, and then so
Right.
there's so many reasons why people aren't answering, and most people aren't so rude that it's because they just don't want to, it's
Right.
because they
Yeah.
yeah.
And most of the time too, I think people are reaching out to more than one photographer. So
Yep.
if you are sending that initial inquiry, and with a lot of the CRMs, you can, there's red receipts. So with HoneyBook, you can see they actually
Hmm.
opened that email, that
Yes.
first initial email.
Love that.
So they already opened it. They're already engaged, right?
Hmm.
But then, their kids needed to be fed or they had to go to work or, 1,000
Yep.
other
Yep.
things
Yep.
happened.
Yeah.
And it gets, scrolled down to the bottom of their email. So you just got to pop it back up to the top a couple of times sometimes to get them to be like,
Especially
okay, I'm
especially
ready.
with moms,
Yeah.
especially like with families. I think that there are very few photography clients who aren't super busy,
Right.
but like a bride is more likely to have a spreadsheet with everything and be organized and be just pouring a lot of time into this decision, because it is for most, a once in a lifetime decision that is going to be probably the most expensive photography experience that they have. So they might be the ones who are on the ball and don't need to just check it off their list. Whereas family photography clients, sometimes branding photography clients, this is something that they just like, it's a one of many things that they need to get checked off their list. And it is going to be the first thing that goes to the back burner if something else comes up. So you need to be the person to keep pushing it back to the front of the stove so that your client can remember to follow through and that you
Yep.
can finally work with them.
100%. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I ask how you decide to circle back to all of the different types of CRMs out there, and one's
hmm
not the right one for everybody? How did you come to figure out that HoneyBook was the right one for you? And did you experiment with other ones first?
I experimented with like trying to figure out what my own system could be first. And then found HoneyBook, did like the 14-day trial or whatever it was at that time. And it just worked for my brain. So I didn't try others. But I have looked at other CRMs, and I think others probably would work for me as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think, at the time I joined HoneyBook probably 5 or 6 years ago now.
Wow.
So it's been a while, and I've seen a lot of the transition that they've made.
Yeah.
They've made a lot of improvements, especially just in the last year, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
But I wasn't using it to its full capability at the beginning, as a lot of people aren't. A
Right.
lot of
Right.
people come in and they're like, cool, it can send me contracts and
Yes.
invoices, and I can see my payments. I'm
Mm-hmm.
good to go.
Yep.
But if you decide to go full time, or as you're getting more clients and inquiries, you do need like the systems part of it. Automations is a huge part of what I do for clients, and then what I use myself. Um, and I think that's probably the biggest tool that gets underutilized, actually,
Yeah.
in any system, but
Yeah.
in HoneyBook as well. It's like it's overwhelming to try to figure it all out.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So in HoneyBook, you can have like if this, then that sort of rules. If they
yep,
don't respond, then in 1 week I
hmm
send this follow up. And then
yeah,
but then it recognizes if they do book, and then
yep.
it stops, and then it puts them on a different path.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh man, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So yeah,
Yeah.
they just rolled out that kind of functionality of the conditional logic. So the if this then that, and then you have different automations for different steps of your workflow. So you have, an inquiry automation, you have an onboarding or, client services automation,
Wow.
maybe an offboarding, so that, each depending on kind of the trigger for each step. So they sign a contract, triggers, kind of your next step.
Yeah.
They pay their deposit, they finish their session, whatever those kind of
Right.
triggers that you want.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
It's incredible to me.
hmm
This software and the people who develop it are
It is
they
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
they are very impressive to me.
Yes.
Yeah, so I've tried HoneyBook, Dubsado, Sprout, uh, and they are very robust. Dubsado and HoneyBook were my favorites. I think for me, what made me jump ship on HoneyBook most recently, because I've tried it like 3 times, was when they switched to their own payment processor. And
Mm,
because I do so much of um, my financials, like I depend so much on the payment processor that I've been using for
yeah,
11 years
totally.
to have that data. So for me, I was like, but that might be my own quirk. But I've been on the client end. Most recently, I've been on the client end of Unscripted, which
Oh,
suddenly is a CRM. It used to
yep.
be an app that you could get posing inspiration from.
Right. Yep. They
Uh,
went into the CRM business.
Holy crap. And I think
Yep.
maybe even gallery. They might even do
hmm
galleries. Uh, it was really nice on the client end. I have no idea
hmm
what it looks like from the photographer's side, but it that impressed me too. So there's
Yeah.
no shortage of options. And I think that depending on, like you said, first figure out what your own workflow is and what
hmm
your client journey ideally looks like,
Yes.
and then go from there. Uh, it's and the automations too, because that consistent client experience
Yep.
is a mark of a high-end brand. Knowing that
100%.
when you,
Hmm.
yeah, when you hire somebody and you pay them money, a lot of the time, regardless of what you are buying um, on the assumption that you're going to get the same thing that everybody else has gotten.
Yep.
And being able to produce that not just in the finished product, but in the client experience, which I would argue is almost more important than the finished product.
Yeah, I would too. And I think, yeah, the idea, I think in the photography industry too, we talk a lot about like creating the luxury experience for your clients.
Mhm.
And sometimes people overcomplicate
Oh
that
yeah,
in order to appear more luxury, but it's just complicated, you're
so
not.
complicated.
Yeah, and
Yes.
so actually the most luxury client experiences I think are the most simplified.
Hmm. Yep.
And so, if you can really get into your client's head what they're going to need and figure out that client journey like you're talking about, then you're going to create the best experience for your clients.
Yeah. One of
Yeah.
my favorite, and I don't use it anymore because I switched everything into Pixie Set and they have their own scheduler, but Calendly, while not a
Hmm.
CRM, has
Hmm.
CRM like capabilities.
Absolutely. Hmm.
And one of my favorites that I would love to see more schedulers adopt was they had workflows that you could automate depending on the type of session that a person booked,
Yep.
where not only were they getting emails, you could send text messages, automated
Mm-hmm.
text messages with like a link to your wardrobe guide or a reminder or whatever, like FAQs
Right.
and leading up not just to the session but then after the session. And I heard you talk about the follow up too. For Can
Hmm.
you talk a little bit? This is another underutilized part of the client experience amongst photographers. The client experience does not end when you deliver the photos. So
Nope.
can you talk about how you utilize that part?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, I kind of have a two-part process. So I deliver sneak peeks to my clients, just because I think it's fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Really, that's the only reason. So I deliver them 24 to 48 hours, and those
Wow.
always are just in a text message to them, to my clients. So it's pretty simple, 5 or 6 images, something like that. But I also have an email that goes out 24 hours after their session. That's just like, hey, this was great. Had a fantastic time. Here's what to expect next. When your gallery is going to be delivered, how you can order prints directly from your gallery, how you can leave a review. Um, I think those are like the three main
Yeah, yeah,
things
yeah, yeah, yeah.
in that, like, one that's 24 hours. And then I have another one that goes out about 30 days after their session. So it's after their gallery's been delivered, they've had a chance to look through their images, gives them a discount code for free shipping on prints,
Nice. Nice.
and then allows them to also leave another opportunity to leave a review.
Wow, Emily, you are not leaving any stone unturned. Like
I
this
try
is
not to.
I love that the discount code for to incentivize ordering prints through you. So I take it if you are delivering sneak peeks, then you are a digital inclusive photographer. You
Yes, yeah,
include
all
all
inclusive. Hmm.
all okay. So have you seen, like, just sidebar, like have you seen an impact of having that coupon go out with your print sales?
Not a huge impact, I would say. I see it probably more for my newborn sessions,
Right.
and then family sessions towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
But I also do a sale on prints at the end of the year, so they get extra then.
Okay. Cool.
But that's also all automated through
Yeah.
Shootproof. So I use Shootproof as my gallery delivery,
Yeah.
and you can set up, automated sequences for your galleries, at the what anytime, for sales.
Yeah. This
So I have
software is
that.
getting so smart. I recently, very accidentally but deeply offended another photographer in a Facebook group where she was talking about, I use Dropbox or whatever Google Drive to deliver my
Mhm.
photos. Like, should I be using something else? And I kind of said, yeah, absolutely. Like, honestly, it comes off unprofessional to do that. And it pissed her off. And I didn't mean to, but it's, so much is
It
lost
happens.
in text where
Absolutely.
and people can be sensitive. But because of these functions that they serve, it's not just file sharing. You have automated reminders, you have a print store, you have so many other functions that proofing software like Shootproof or Pixieset or PickTime or
Right.
whatever else is out there now.
Anyone, yeah, anyone that you use.
Those,
Exactly.
yeah,
Mhm.
those are, yeah, they do so much now, and
Mhm.
they're overlapping with the CRM capabilities,
Yeah.
which is so cool. And to take it, there's a reason that these software developers are adding these automations and these different
Yeah.
mechanisms that exist within the software. Like, look into that. You might be wasting a lot of your time when you don't have to be.
I think that's the biggest thing. It's like as if you got into business for yourself, you got into it partly because you didn't want that 9 to 5 hustle,
Right.
having to, always be on the clock and be able to spend more time with your family or yourself or your spouse or, whatever it is. And so if you are still doing all of those tasks manually, one by one, whatever they may be, whether it's your marketing workflow, your financial systems, your CRM, all of
Yeah.
those, if you're doing every single one manually every time you think of it, you're never going to move the needle.
No.
You're never going to,
No.
and you're going to constantly feel like, why is this happening to me? And why
Yeah.
is it so hard? And I thought this was going to be, fun and taking pictures and,
So
it really doesn't have to be that way.
no, you've created a hamster wheel if you
Hmm.
are just doing everything. And I think I will play devil's advocate, and I think that, like, we don't need to automate as much as it feels like we need to. Like, I
Totally.
think that unless you are a serious volume photographer, there's a lot of room for for a realistic human interaction
Absolutely.
and a
Yeah.
human
Yeah.
touch. But when it comes to the things that don't require that level of intimacy in a client relationship, automate that, the
Right.
onboarding, like, and you can, if you feel weird about it, acknowledge in your email that this is an automated email. It's
Yeah.
just to remind you that just so, but people then still feel taken care of. Their questions are being answered before they have them, and you haven't forgotten to share key pieces of information like I did when with our with like for people who aren't me and Emily, which is everybody listening. We, when I have a guest come onto my podcast, in a perfect world, what would happen is they would get this list of guidelines, like having headphones, and if your headphones have the mic on the wire, just wear your hair back so your hair is not brushing it, or you don't need to download anything, but you do need to use Chrome as your browser. Like, all of these, like, little things that I don't should not be having to remember to tell you because I don't remember. So, like,
Right.
I personally need a piece of software where people can schedule the podcast with me, and then
Hmm.
they get, which is basically, I guess most CRMs would
Hmm.
be able to handle this.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then put it in my calendar and make sure that I don't double book, and you get all the information and the link and everything in a timely manner so that you feel supported and prepared as a guest.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think there, like you said, there's those things that need that personal touch point. There's, a handful of questions that a client asks you or whatever that obviously you need to answer yourself. It
Yeah.
can't be automated. But then, yeah, there are those, onboarding things. I send a client prep email, that goes out for my photographer clients, and I'm able to pull in the location and the time directly from my CRM. And then everything else is just standard. It's the
Hold
thing I
on.
say.
Pump the brakes. Okay. When you say you are able to pull in the location and the time, so what are you talking
Hmm.
about? Are you talking about like auto-populating a contract with the information, or do you have specified information regarding the location where you're going to be shooting that you share about?
Yeah, so in HoneyBook, you there's a details page, and you can put in the details of your session, and then those are smart fields that you can pull into any
Right,
email.
right, right. Okay.
So the time can get pulled in, the location can get pulled in. I typically send a text with like an exact pin
Right,
location,
right, right.
but for that email purpose, I don't need the exact pin location. I can just say, wherever it is, somewhere in San Francisco,
Right, right.
and then the rest of the email is a standard email that
Okay.
is for everyone. And so that then is automated because it knows to pull in the details from their project.
Got it.
Yeah.
So I envisioned a trigger where once you selected a certain location, if it's whatever beach that you use,
Hmm.
let's say, every time that you have a session there, these are the guidelines that you want to share with. So
Oh, that would
HoneyBook
be
people,
amazing.
that might be a good
That
like
would be
little
amazing.
feature to
Oh
add.
my
That is like,
gosh.
yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
That's why I just got so excited. But yes,
Yeah, that would be amazing.
yeah.
No, I'll suggest that for the next
Yes.
time
Well,
around.
they
Yeah.
they do
Yeah.
listen. They are one of
Oh,
those
they really
companies that
do.
listens.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's what's nice about them. They're very human. I know. I really did enjoy that part when I used them. Is
Yeah.
like they're so human. They listen to your suggestions. You can speak to a person like pretty quickly if you
Hmm.
need to, and get good support there. So you said you were an educator, and now you've kind of tied education in back into your career as a photographer. You want to talk
Hmm.
a little bit about the path to getting there, and what you offer, and
Yeah,
all that?
yeah, definitely. So, yeah, I think, like I said, I was just noticing in like the photographer communities that I was a part of that so many of the questions were not about, shooting and
No.
lighting and all that kind of stuff, right? Those are not the questions that people are asking. People are
No.
asking, how do I do my pricing? Or how do I send out a brochure? Or, my client communications all over the place, et cetera, et cetera. And so I had found like my systems in HoneyBook were working really well, and I just wanted to be able to share that with other people.
Yeah.
Um, so I kind of have three different offers within Woodall Creative Co., which is my education side of my business, and that is kind of a full HoneyBook setup. So whether you're an established photographer or someone brand new, and I've worked with both, I go into your system and kind of start to finish create everything for you.
Wow.
Branded templates, branded emails, automations, pulling in your images so that you have different things to work with, um, linking integrations like QuickBooks or Calendly if you want to use that still.
Oh,
Um,
you can integrate with outside. Oh,
yeah, they have a lot of integrations.
that's pretty awesome.
And if they don't, you can use Zapier to
I was
connect.
going to ask if it was Zapier.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So
Very
they
good.
have those that are already, they already partner with. And then if you don't, then you can use Zapier. So,
Wow. Nice.
so they partner with things like Flowdesk, with PickTime, with
Whoa. So like
QuickBooks.
what does a partnership for them and Flowdesk look like? Because that's interesting.
So one is you can create an automation for your client inquiries that anytime you get a client inquiry, it creates an automation to link them with Flowdesk. So then they're automatically added into your email. Yeah.
Wow.
Marketing.
Oh.
Hmm.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, they're really thinking of everything. Wow.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
For me, I think one of the bigger ones is QuickBooks because, finances
I don't
is
want to
just
think about
like,
my
oh my
taxes.
God, right? I know. Nobody wants to think about finances. especially right now.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. I'm like, April
and
15th was so long ago. It's yeah, it's in the past right now. So,
right. But if you are just using that as your single system for payments,
right,
and
right.
you're not taking payments from anything else, it makes it so easy. My accountant loves what I'm able to
Oh, oh
provide to them
yeah.
over here. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
because it's
It
really
that's
clean.
yeah, and it because it's custom built, it's purposefully built to work for us, for
Mm-hmm.
people like us.
Mm-hmm.
It knows the analytics and the data that's needed from
Right.
a bookkeeping standpoint.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's really that is exciting. And as much as I am so I need to talk to my therapist about this trigger. No, who am I kidding? I talk to her all the time about this. Um but my bookkeeping team has to like jump between multiple payment processors and then
Yeah.
my bank info. So that's kind of neat that it just because they did take become their own payment processor.
Mm-hmm.
At the curious, do they allow for things like Klarna and Affirm and other different sort of financing options as their own payment processor?
No, you do have to if you're going to have people pay through HoneyBook, it's either through direct deposit, like bank
Yeah,
account,
yeah, yeah,
or credit
yeah,
card.
yeah.
You can still take payments outside of that system. So
Of
if
course.
somebody, of
Yeah,
course, if
yeah.
somebody wants to pay you a different way, and then just mark it as paid within
Right,
the system.
right.
So
Okay.
that's always an option.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't found any issues with payment. I do know that if you are in Canada, the payment processing is a little bit difficult because they
Mm,
don't take bank payments.
okay.
And Canada
Okay.
has a really interesting like transfer payment system thing that they do.
I'm sure it's
Um,
better. I'm sure it's better than ours. Whatever it is, I have no doubt that it's
but
better.
I've worked with clients in Canada, and that was actually one of like in that full HoneyBook setup. It's like I'm gonna work through all of those solutions for you,
Cool.
like
Wow.
so, and I think that does come from like the counseling side of me. Like I was a solutions focused counselor. That was how I was trained. So I'm always just trying to like figure out your brain and then figure out what's going to work best for you.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's like I don't think I had a solutions focused counselor when I was in high school. I had a
Yeah.
college focused counselor because
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody yeah, was just sent to college.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That well, so talk a little bit more about what you offer through Woodall
Yeah.
Creative and what it looks like for people to work with you
Yeah.
and the benefits. I think that unless you have started to set up your own CRM, you might not be able to understand why you would hire that out.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it took me a while to understand why investing in your business is so essential.
Yeah.
So I know that taking the step to invest in something is like, that's a big step. But I think if you are someone who really is focused on the creative side of your business and struggles with tech, then it's definitely a good opportunity to
Yeah.
hire
Yes.
that out. And with that like full setup that I do, we're working, like I said, with your brain, with your client journey. It's not mine. I'm going to walk away 30 days
Right.
later,
Right.
and you're going to be on your own. You can still send me texts, but, but, it has to work for you. So,
Yes. Yeah.
um, so while there are certain things that I think are maybe a little bit more standard, there are others that are going to be unique to every single business,
Right.
whether or not you want to do a consult call first, whether you want to just send a booking link, whether you want to have somebody pay, 100% upfront or 50% deposit,
Right.
there's so many different models
Yeah.
in our industry and
Yeah.
in other industries as well.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm really taking you from like day one client journey all the way through, your follow up process, creating branded templates. I think that's part of the luxury part that I try to offer, where
Yeah.
it's not just sending a contract with nothing else. There's, some welcome. There's some understanding of who you are as a provider, as a service provider. And then, all of those follow-ups as well being personalized. I take a big look at your website and your social media to really understand your brand voice, so that I can write some emails for you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun. I really enjoy all the clients I get to work with. I get to see the back end of businesses, which is really fascinating for my brain.
Right? I know.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
like getting to go in somebody's house and like look in their closets and their
totally.
medicine cabinet.
Yeah, yeah. And then the other side for HoneyBook is just the automation side. So there's some businesses that are established. They've been using HoneyBook for a long time. But HoneyBook just rolled out this 2.0 automations, which is the conditional logic.
Okay.
And so they may have automations, but they don't have the conditional logic. And so they need that to be built out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just taking what you already have and kind of translating it so that you don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is, wow.
Yeah. It's really fun.
I have a problem with I hear about this, and this is why I have used HoneyBook. I've signed up for HoneyBook 3 times at this point,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, nope. I found the system that works for me. I'm not going to get tempted to try it again. But here you are making me think like, maybe, but I can't. I
Yeah.
have like, I've switched CRMs in the middle of busy season, and it is not a good idea.
Don't recommend that. Yeah.
Don't recommend it. When do you think is a good idea for somebody to start and implement a new CRM?
If you are going to be switching or you're just starting, whatever your slow season is going to be the best time to do
Yeah.
it. And that's different for everybody. I know, for family photographers, that's normally the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But for wedding photographers, it might be another time.
Right.
Or, branding, whatever. So whatever your slower season is, if we're working together, it's about a 2 to 3 week process. So I do try to have a pretty fairly quick turnaround with
Wow, that's
everything.
impressive. Yeah.
And then you're getting another like 30 days of support from me afterwards. So once it's all implemented and you start to, get inquiries, you have questions about how things are working or you need something tweaked, then you still have access to me for those additional 30 days.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's so cool. So,
Yeah.
Before we sign off, just share with people where they can find you, and ways they can work with you, and anything else that you'd like to share.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this has been so fun. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. For where you can find me on Instagram at Woodall Creative Co. And my website as well is woodallcreative.co. And I love having conversations with people. You can email me, send me a DM, ask me questions. I really love that. And if you're feeling like, your systems could use a little love, want a little bit of a tweak, you can also grab my free workflow wellness checklist. And that is at woodallcreativeco.com/podcast. So you can find that there. You'll just subscribe to my email and then you'll get that freebie.
Awesome. Oh, I'm going to get that, Emily. Because I don't think any of us could say that our workflows are perfect right now, but I'm always re-examining because,
Yep.
Things change and like how can I improve? So that I will be checking that out personally, and I will link all of that stuff in the show notes.
Awesome. Great.
Well, thank you. I really enjoyed talking to you. I learned so much today.
Great. It was so great talking with you too.
Yes, you'll have to come back again soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.
So until next time, keep shooting, keep creating, and keep building the business that supports your dreams. Have a fantastic week. And remember, in the business of photography, your creativity is your biggest asset.